morning, Vinnie enthusiasts, how are you doing? Welcome back. I hope you're all well and I hope you're having a great day. So today's update is exactly that. It's a bit of an update. We're going to talk about what's going to go on with Vinnie, the future for Vinnie, and that will lead on to maybe the next project in the workshop. We've got PL here at the moment. I've just finished machine polishing PL. So you'd have seen in a previous PL update, I was machine polishing the bonnet and taking dents out, just some very small ones. I needed to machine polish it because even though it was covered up in the workshop, it still got fallout underneath the cover and there were some scratches which were induced on the paintwork. So it's taken me a while to do that. I ended up machine polishing the whole car, but it's looking really, really fantastic again. I've never machine polished it before, but it's come up really, really well. I'm pleased with that. And not for today's video, but in a future upcoming video, we're also going to rip out the stereo system out of Vinnie, or the amplifier anyway, and all the cabling, and put it back to a little bit more standard. So I'm going to have a standard looking head unit, probably going to hide a Bluetooth receiver or something like that in the car, so I can still stream music off my phone or something like that. But it will just be a little bit more discreet and a little bit tidier. I'm going to talk about Vinnie, what we're going to do with Vinnie, and let's go over and see where we are with Project Sprout. Right, so I know some of you are probably quite keen to know what's going on with Project Sprout. There hasn't been many updates lately. The truth is, I've just been enjoying it. I've just been enjoying driving the car. It's turned out so much better than I expected it to be, really. And just, I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do, but I've really, really got attached to it. I really enjoy driving it as well. So I can remember back in 1998, I bought a brand new Sports Pack Mini from the local Rover dealer, and I had it for 3 years. I loved that car to bits. It looked absolutely awesome, but it was just never that nice to drive. It was a little bit sluggish. It was a little bit wheezy. It was a Cooper Sports Pack. It really didn't go that well. It tramlined all over the place. It didn't handle particularly well. I say didn't handle well, I mean it's a Mini, so it does handle well, but it's too grippy. And someone's asked me that before in the comments, you know, what's better, 12 or 13-inch wheels? I guess it comes down to personal preference. But for me, having driven lots of 12-inch wheel Minis and 13-inch wheel Minis, 12-inch all the way. It just drives so much nicer on 12s. So there's almost too much grip with 13s. Don't get me wrong, they grip very, very well. And yes, they probably do handle better. And if you put them on a track and you add a lot of power in a Mini, they would probably come into their own. But on a standard, unmodified Mini, big 13-inch wheels, wide, they just slow the car down really. And you almost want, you don't want loads and loads of grip if you've not got a lot of power. You want to be able to have a bit of fun. And that is exactly what Sprout is like to drive. It just drives beautifully. And you know, they talk about, you know, cars built on a Friday, you know, Friday afternoon cars. Sprout certainly doesn't seem to be one of them. The engine is as sweet as a nut. And compared to my old Sports Pack, which was a standard car, this car feels so much quicker. Don't get me wrong, it's not fast by any standards, but it's quite perky. It's yeah, it's good. It's good fun to drive. It's got enough power, you know. I must be getting old. I don't think I'd ever say that, but it's got enough. It's got enough to have a bit of fun with. Yeah, it's zippy, it's nippy, it's all of those things. It's good fun to drive. The steering's light, the steering lock is great, the suspension's great. It isn't too hard, it isn't too harsh, it doesn't crash and bang. And yeah, it just accelerates nicely through the gears. So I have done some bits, so I've sorted out the little bits like the speedo that wasn't connected. I've replaced the reverse light switch. I've sorted out the knock-in exhaust. I can't think what other little bits and bobs there were to finish off. I still really want to get this windscreen replaced. That's bugging me a little bit, but until I guess now we're kind of out of lockdown now, so it's going to be a case of a trip up to one of the Mini spares places, hopefully Mini Spares or whoever's got one, to get an MPI screen to bring it back and fit it. Now you will have noticed I've changed the steering wheel in Sprout. So if you remember back in the early videos, Alex Toon changed the wheel for me, and I did have this steering wheel on here, which is black all the way round, which is actually really great because you ain't got to worry about getting in the car when you've got slightly grubby hands or anything like that. This one is actually in fantastic condition. There is practically no wear on this steering wheel. It's almost like brand new, and it's full leather all the way around. So I've put that back on eBay now, and I'll try and sell it. But if it doesn't sell, you know, I might keep it just as a very good spare because it is really, really good. But a steering wheel come up on eBay with the correct beige or cream leather parts of the steering wheel like this, and although the black one is very practical, this just finishes the car off. It matches the trims on the doors, it matches the seat, it matches the gear lever trim, and I didn't think it would make much difference, but I put it in the car and it just, I don't know, it just looks really nice. So it's a pain because if you're getting it with dirty hands, you don't want to be doing that, but that does kind of force you down the route of you make sure you're clean and tidy before you get in the car in the first place. So yeah, that's where we are with Sprout. Like I say, I'm just really pleased with how it's turned out. Hopefully I can get out in it soon. The weather's rubbish today, and maybe do a few more driving videos or something like that. So I guess the next question is what's coming up on the channel next. So I've got some bits on PL to do, but the main thing probably next is I don't know, I'm hankering after another project. This is pretty much, it's almost a year to the date when I first got Sprout, or was looking at Sprout. So we're getting to that time of year again where I'm starting to think about winter projects. But the first thing I've got to do before I get another project is fund it. So when I bought Sprout, the idea was to buy it and sell it, to flip it as such. So, you know, I managed to do everything on Sprout. It was to a budget and it didn't hit me too hard, but I can't afford to do that again this year. I can't afford to put another 6-7 grand into a car. So, unfortunately, that probably means one of them's got to go, and the car that will go will be Vinnie. So I'm going to put Vinnie up for sale very shortly. I'm not going to put it for a particularly low price. I'm not desperate to sell it at all. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell, and all that means is I might just have to buy a cheaper project. But yeah, I've got a price which I think it's worth, and I'll put it up for that, and I'll see whether it sells. And if it doesn't sell, then yeah, like I say. But if it does sell, that money will be put into a new project. So there's no point beating around the bush, you know, price on application and that sort of thing, or whatever it is. I think it's worth £7,000, Vinnie, give or take a little bit. But I've certainly put that and way more into the car. But I think it's worth £7,000. That's what I'm going to be putting up for sale for. And if it sells, that money will go back into another project. And the idea then is the next project will be a car to buy and flip. It won't be a car to keep. So, you know, a £7,000 budget there or thereabouts should get me something quite nice and quite special. I've already seen some things, they've just not turned out. I saw a 2000 or 1999, I think it's a 2000 actually, solar red sports pack mini. It wasn't a 500, but it was certainly, I think, in probably the last few thousand. It'd only done 21,000 miles and been sat in a garage since 2006, I think. So covered in dust, untouched, but it was right up in, it was north of Scarborough, and it was auction, and it was just, if I could have got up there to see it, I may have gone for it, but I just couldn't, and I didn't want to buy a car blind without seeing it. I've seen some photos, but obviously not seen the car in person. I also saw an ERA, and some of you might have seen that as well. So it was a Japanese spec ERA for sale for £9,000. The guy was asking for part exchanges. So I messaged that guy, and offered him Vinnie, £7,000 for Vinnie, and then 2,000 cash on top. And he wanted more. He wanted 3,000 cash on top. So it was pushing Vinnie below the price that I think it's worth. And I thought, I mean, £9,000 for an ERA is cheap, and it was pretty much all there. But what he'd done is he'd taken Nitromors or paint stripper to the shell or something like that, and started to strip it to the point half of the car was down to bare metal and half wasn't. It had been, other bits had been stripped off. So at that point you are 100% committed pretty much to doing a full body shell restoration, pretty much the same as we're doing on Mark's ERA at the moment. And I just didn't really have the appetite or enthusiasm to do that all over again. Initially, when I looked at it, there were some photos before he'd put paint stripper on it, and I thought to myself, well, I could recommission the car, do all the mechanical bits, and then tidy up the bodywork, get the little bits done here and there. And that was kind of my plan, and I would have been quite happy to do that. But like I say, he sent me photos of how it is now, and it had been paint strippered, and I just thought that's just too much for me to get involved in again. And it wouldn't have been very good for the channel either, because literally just finishing up an ERA build now, so don't want to do exactly the same thing again. So keep your eyes out. I'm going to keep my eyes out, and let me know in the videos. You know, I've got a Facebook page as well. Details down in the description. If you see something that looks interesting, let me know. It's always difficult because it's down to personal preferences, but I think if it was me, what am I looking for? I don't think I want to do another MPI Mini or SPI. I think I want to go back to a carburetted Mini, but it's got to be something a little bit special. I don't just want I certainly don't want something that's already been modified, that's pink or been sprayed. I want something standard looking, something light. I'll tell you what I would really like would be an RSP Mini, carburetted RSP, or yeah, I don't know. I've got to give it a bit of thought, but I don't want anything modified. I want it to be a standard car. So the nearer it is to standard now, the better. I'm not saying I would instantly dismiss another MPI or an SPI, because I do have a bit of a soft spot for them. But yeah, I guess for me, if there's an RSP that come up, or maybe something like a Mini 30 or something like that, then I would be really interested. And maybe someone watching this video will be interested as well. So I'll be interested in part exchanging as well. So I will do a detailed description of Vinnie in the coming weeks, and we'll stick it. I mean, I'll probably just stick it for sale on eBay, and we'll see how it goes. So I guess some people might say, why Vinnie, and why not sell this, or why not sell PL? PL is the car that if I sell, I will forever regret it, because I will never get another one of them. It's a Cooper Sport, Sport 5 in Amaranth. There must only be, I mean, there must only be about 30 or 40 Sport 5s ever. And in Amaranth, 5 maybe, 10 at a push. I probably know of 5 actually, 5 Amaranth ones, but they are very, very rare. And like I say, if I sell it, I will forever regret selling that. Sprout, like I say, I've just fallen in love with it. It's a fantastic car. And again, I said this right from the start, as far as the body and shell goes on this car, I'm probably not going to find a better one now. I'm genuinely, I'm probably not. You know, the stuff I've done to it, it is good as it can be, and I kind of committed to putting all heritage panels on it to begin with, and that was probably the early signs that I was going to keep the car. So it kind of only leaves Vinnie, and I don't particularly want to sell Vinnie, but I've grown bored of it. I've owned it for 8-9 years. I've done everything to it. There's not a nut and bolt or screw that I haven't touched or undone on that car. And some things that bug me is it's a real pain to insure, so it is extensively modified. It frustrates me every year when I insure it and they say what modifications have you got? And I'm like, can I just tell you the ones I haven't done? The bits I haven't modified, it will probably make it easier. So it always takes a couple of hours a year, if not more, to do the modifications form, then send in photos and that sort of thing. They always sting you for insurance as well. So this costs 90 quid to insure. PL usually costs 110 quid. Vinnie, 300 quid. So it's 3 times expensive to insure. When it comes to road tax as well, it is properly registered with the DVLA as a 1.6 litre. So it then falls into the higher tax bracket as well. So it's then around, I think it's about 280, 290 pound a year to insure. So it's twice as expensive to insure. It uses I say quite a lot of fuel. It's not that bad. It uses quite a lot of fuel because every time I go out in it, it's a bit of a hoon. It's not like this where I just go out and it's just nice to drive. That thing you get in it and you just want to plant the throttle every time. So it's an expensive car to run if you're only going to use it very infrequently. And with this and PL both taxed and MOT'd, you know, I'll be lucky if I do 500 miles in Vinnie, and then you start doing the maths and you think, well, it's just a waste of money. It's just a waste of money, hasn't it? The only thing I think I'd miss with it, it's a lovely car to be able to take for a track day. I mean, one of my favourite days last year was jumping in it, driving a Castle Combe, which for me from here must be, I don't know, 130, 140 miles. Driving it to a track day, hooning it round on the track day all day, and then driving it home. You know, that just was a great feeling, and it went really well on track as well. So that's where we are. So I apologise if I've waffled on a lot this week. I'm just looking at the camera now. This is 16 minutes. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. Like I say, if you see any minis out there which look of interest, let me know, and I'll be back again soon.